So
Recording in progress.
we've exited executive session and are now ready to discuss the other positions, the public health nurse and the director of environmental services job.
We need to roll call back in.
Oh,
Correct.
we do. Okay, so roll calling back in. Stephanie Granger.
Zach Cataldo, aye.
Joanne Belanger, aye.
All right, so
And just to update everyone, Michelle left
to leave.
during executive, so that's why she's not here.
okay, so back to then discussing the other positions, the public health nurse and the director of environmental services jobs.
Correct. So the public health nurse position, I just wanted to let the board members know that we do have an opera request in with the select board to continue to pay the public health nurse at a full-time position. Right now, the position is approved for fiscal year 22. We have put in a request for 23 and 24. That will be something that will come up at the select board's meeting on the 25th. So I wanted you to be aware of those requests, as well as the director of environmental services job description. You had mentioned, some board members had mentioned that they would like to possibly see a title change to assistant director, public health director, and possibly some changes to the job description were just a possibility. So I wanted to check with you all tonight. I did put in the director of environmental services job description. I did check into assistant director, which looks pretty much in line with the pay band, as well as the job responsibilities. I checked with our town manager's office to see what the process was for town meeting. Any changes to both the title and or the job description would indeed need to go in front of the Personnel Advisory Committee, which meets virtually. The Human Resources does sit on that group. And then it would need to be sent to town meeting. And I believe the deadline is the second week in February for that. I would have to double check. I think it's February 8th to get that in place card holder, if that's
Okay, so
something you'd like to pursue.
So if we look first just at the nurse position, is there anything that we really need to discuss on that tonight?
We do not. We're at this time, we are just looking not to add anything to the job description or make any changes. We looked at the salary band that appears to be in line with other communities. We did check with HR on their salary market basket. It does appear to be in line. And there's no title change. I just wanted to know we have an ARPA request in for a full-time public health nurse moving forward.
Okay,
Okay.
Zach.
I guess
Sorry.
my only concern here, I think it's totally warranted to look for funding from ARPA. It fits what that is for. My only concern is something I think Joanne brought up earlier, which is that, ARPA funding won't last forever. And so when that day comes, I'm just concerned that I don't know what's going to happen. And so I'm not sure if we should do anything about it now, but I just wanted to kind of throw that out there. Maybe Joanne has some ideas, or, I just don't know. I'm just a little worried that in 2 or 3 years that we'll be like scrambling to try and figure out how to keep this position, because it's an essential position.
So can you tell me, Ray, what the amount is? Because we're just asking for just one day. She's 4 days, right? We just need 1 day, correct?
Gail is Monday through Friday, and she currently works 30 hours. So we're looking to keep her full-time. She's been paid full-time through the CARES Act for the last 2 years, and she's currently being funded full-time with ARPA funding.
So it was 30 hours.
37 and a half.
Yeah, okay. So we need 7.5 hours, right?
Correct. Yep.
Okay. Okay.
And we're talking about $18,000.
Okay. So I think I understand, definitely understand the situation. The ARPA money isn't intended to be forever. However, at least temporarily, it's the option, and I think we're all agreed to go for it. In finding out that we're talking about $18,000, I think in the next couple of years we should be able to fund $18,000. I mean, that just kind of seems paltry. I don't know. I don't have an answer, Zach, to your question necessarily, but I think that we shouldn't. There should be a way to find $18,000 in
Right,
2 to 3
I just-
years. I'm just, I mean, it won't be 18 2 to 3 years, but I'm just saying in terms of the big picture. We need a full-time public health nurse. She's, we're lucky we have the ability to pay her with the CARES money. She works more than 37 hours
I guess
normally, so.
I totally agree. In all the time I've been on the board, I've never really experienced this where we had ARPA funding. So I don't know the mechanism for how it works when it disappears. I don't know if
Yeah.
basically we'll have a full-time position and then the town will have to figure out how to pay for it, or if we'll just be, told, nope, you got to cut back to where you were before the ARPA funding. So and I'm not saying the answer. I'm just, it just kind of seems like a weird way to do things.
I think it'll just be important for us to, over the next several years, note what she's doing, how she's necessary to the town. And if she is, then we'll just have that for the argument. I mean, if the town needs the nurse full time, when that money goes away, hopefully then they will find the way to do that.
Right. Makes sense.
There's that hopefully word, but
I know. Well, this is something we've been discussing for, I don't know, 2 3 years now, trying to get her position to a full-time position with all of the work that she does. And then boom, we have a pandemic and we need a full-time nurse. Like we've been telling you that, so yeah. I wish I had a magic ball, but
yeah.
Well, and it's certainly something that we can bring up at the meeting next week. That this is our request, and this is what we're hoping to see for the future.
And if they want to use their 18,000 in ARPA money towards something else and fund her position, that's fine too.
Right.
Okay.
I think they were the ones who initially shifted it to be an ARPA request rather than putting it through some other way, because it's the easier way to do it for the short term.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, so that's the nurse. So then if we go to the Director of Environmental Services, Ray, now that you're our health director, what are your thoughts on this position? Other than that you need it as ASAP.
My opinion is I would I want to make sure that the job stays environmental focused. Right now it does oversee the 2 positions as the immediate supervisor. As I had mentioned in the past, our septic inspections, our plan review is higher than we've ever seen. And so our health agent, Abby Graham, is out straight. I would say that her job consumes 75% to 80% of her job is septic related. It's just year round. So that's something we definitely want to make sure that the Director of Environmental Services can pitch in, can help when needed, but can also focus on the manager and the leadership responsibilities, grant writing, that thing. I personally would, right now the position is called, on paper, it's called the Environmental Services Manager. So if you wanted to keep it as that, if you want to look at some job descriptions for assistant public health directors, I can certainly pull those for the next meeting if you want to compare and contrast. I know some members have wanted to maybe expand the role a little bit. And then, as I mentioned, depending on what will take place with our food inspector position, that may have an impact on how we can shift some job responsibilities.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I guess my thing that was kind of niggling at me was the director. The word director of environmental services. It's hard to have two directors. We did many years, but they were very separate. They were separate. Whereas now we have, a health director. But if the title is environmental services manager, then I'm not as inclined to try to push towards an assistant director, because it kind of it does kind of what it was that I was envisioning, was set up kind of a hierarchy. So in those instances, Ray, when you are not around, you're on vacation, you're not available, there is a direct line of succession, if you will. It would next go to that person, that manager person, because they oversee the agents, kind of thing. So that kind of clears up my issues with the job title and the job, even some of the job responsibilities, and just leave it as environmental services manager. If that's helpful, to move it faster, to get it posted and filled.
I agree with you, Joanne. My only question is, under some of the other job descriptions, it says like food inspector reports to the director of environmental services. So I just don't remember when this title, like, so Ray, you just said that like on paper, it is the environmental services manager. I'm just wondering which is it?
Right. So it is a little confusing because when I check with the HR department, the position was last updated in 2017. The title of the position is Environmental Services Manager, and that's the job description. However, there is another job description with the position title Director of Environmental Services, and some of the principal responsibilities, just two, were modified. My predecessor, I don't believe, shared that with the HR department, and changed the title at the time to Director of Environmental Services. So we want to make sure we're going through the right channels. At the last meeting, it was voted by the board members to continue to advertise as is, which we did, and posted the position as Environmental Services Manager with the job description that you have from 2017.
Yeah, then I'd agree with Joanne. I think that does solve a lot of just nomenclature issues. It makes it very clear how things work.
Well, and if we get close to hiring some people, and we feel like it's something to discuss, that this position may change title and slightly, if we decide that that's a direction you want to go, we can pursue that in the future, because it sounds like it's a very lengthy process.
Yeah, it's probably easier to change depending on how things go with the other position, to change who they report to than changing the title of this. Because changing a title is a bigger deal, I think, than who you actually report to.
Yeah,
because eventually you report to the director anyway. It just goes up the chain. So,
yeah, and I
everybody
will
reports to
say,
you.
from my perspective of being in the department for 16 years, that starting out as the agent, you always went directly to your supervisor, as we call it here in the department, which was the environmental services manager, and that person would then report up to the health director. But also in the same case, those two positions, the food inspector and the agent, would also sometimes go directly to the director. So we do go by hierarchy here, but it's not unusual for them to maybe go to both sometimes. So it's never really been a problem, I should say.
Okay. So maybe, I guess as a board, then it sounds like we're kind of just thinking, leave it be for now. And it would probably hire that position and then if we decide that we want to change it at all, we would do it for a year from now, start like that process.
Yeah, I mean, what's really heartening to me is that Ray has been in the department and knows knows positions inside and out. And I'm really glad that you've had a chance. I know it's been only a short amount of time, but to, be the director and to give this some thought. And it sounds like you don't really have anything you want to change. Is that correct? I mean, is there anything that you do want to change? Because, this is the time.
Yeah, I would say at this time, speaking with our health agent, I think leaving it with the environmental manager job responsibilities and leaving it heavy on environmental would be most beneficial for us at this time.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it does make a lot of sense because that way that's the person that's going to be heavily into Title V, doing the plan reviews and that kind of thing, so that Abby has somebody directly to bounce stuff off, right? And then the other department personnel is there, but then everybody can just go to you. Yeah, just leave it alone.
Right, and
It's
I
small
will.
enough,
And I will say, Abby has been great as the interim environmental manager during this time, and I know she's interested in applying for the position. And so what's nice too about the health agent's position, if this makes you feel any better, and the environmental manager, is they kind of overlap a little bit. One enforces and one implements. So they both help each other out, both positions, when it comes to plan review and inspections and grant writing and things of that nature. So it's kind of nice because everyone's cross-trained and can step into each other's roles if needed.
So did you say you've already posted it then, or?
Yeah, at the last Board of Health meeting, you did vote to continue to post because you didn't want to wait. So that was just posted today.
Oh, okay.
And that will post for 10 days. So then we can do interviews if that's what you would like to do, or we can certainly promote within, however you want to proceed.
Okay.
Yeah, that sounds great. Do you need any vote from us, Stephanie?
Do we, I don't know that we would need to vote on anything if we're just leaving
Yeah.
we're
things
gonna
as
leave it.
they're
Yeah.
going. So, okay, I think that's good then. And it is great, Ray, that you really do. You've been there, you know how this department works, where its needs are, and that, how it's been functioning and what you feel like is going to make it run smoothly. That's good.
Okay. Is there one last question? Is there a group that would like to be on the interview process for this position?
I'd be happy to be a part of it if you need a body.
Okay, great.
But I mean, definitely, Stephanie, if you have the time and you want to do it, that's great.
I mean, I can be there, but it'd be good, Zach, for somebody with more of the experience on that side of the world to be part of it. So.
And then I would just say that, I think for the food inspection part, or depends on how this goes through, but let's say we are looking for a health agent or 2 health agents or whatever. I think it'd be great if Arnie is available, if he could just sit in and give us advice as an advisor, just because he knows, so much about this.
Okay, great.
It's a great idea. Okay. So is that it?
That is all I have.
See what Arnie
Thank
thinks
you.
of that, because I think he's out there in our participant land.
I just volunteered you.
Arnie, are you there?
I can't
He's
see the
there, and it's
participants.
only
Oh,
because
there, I see. He just popped in.
Only because he's such a great expert.
Exactly.
Hi, Arnie.
Hi, yeah, I'd be happy to help, with the food inspection position if you wanted me to help interview. I've been there a long time, and I'd be happy to help, no matter when that is, if you get it posted before I go, or even if it's after, I'd be happy to help.
Thank you so much, Arnie.
Thank you.
All right. Then I guess if that's everything that we had on the agenda for the evening, is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion.
Motion
second.
made by Joanne, seconded by Zach. All in favor, Stephanie Granger, aye.
Zach Cataldo, aye.
Joanne,
Joanne Belanger, aye.
thank you.
Thank you
Good night,
so much.
everyone. Thanks,
Thank
Ray.
you.
Good night,
Thank
everyone.
you.